College is a wild ride for young adults, and their mental health often suffers. This podcast addresses the inner battles many college students struggle with. You're listening to Normalize It Forward, where we have raw, unfiltered conversations about young people's biggest mental health problems, how to handle them, and how to achieve a more resilient mind. Time to get rid of those heavy burdens and focus more on self-love and care. Here is your host, Mark Lehman.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Lehman, and this is Normalize It Forward. Today, we are here welcoming Tyler Ganus. He is a baseball alumnus from Harvard-Westlake, the University of Oregon, and Northwestern University. He's left a legacy in each of these programs, embodying the phrase, do it with passion or not at all. I love that. He has enjoyed being an energetic spark plug on the field. Some of his accolades include Team USA silver medalist, 2023 Pac-12 champion, 2023 Rawlings batting title awardee, and currently going into his final year of collegiate ball at Northwestern. In the classroom, he has attained summa cum laude from Oregon and Northwestern. Congratulations, that's huge. While being a 6-time Dean's List honoree. He's successfully earned his undergraduate degree in music in 3 years and completed his first graduate certificate in sports communication this past year. He's excited to continue helping young baseball players with his own 10-week coaching course while pursuing another graduate certificate in technology and entrepreneurship. So welcome. So nice to have you here, Tyler. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here. Let's get going.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So, we were chatting just a few minutes ago, and I was just explaining to you a little bit about Normalize It Forward. And as a family therapist, having worked with so many young people, and also as a coach to my son who played baseball for years, I counted once. I coached 19 seasons of his baseball over the years, from very, very little to high school. And just been around athletes and athletics really my entire career. Would really want to get your perspective today on, athletics, and because athletics have really changed a lot, even in the last couple of years on the collegiate level in many different sports. So I'm curious, your thoughts around sort of athletics for young people. I know it's a huge topic, but, give me your thoughts. What do you think?
I think it's a great starting point. Athletics for young people. I think it's everything. For me, being able to jump into baseball when I was pretty young, around 4 years old. My dad also coached me early on in my career, and it's been awesome just to meet friends. Number one, number two, have something to compete in. Be sort of united under a common goal, and from a young age, learn what that's like to collaborate with other athletic kids and try to go win games. I think is really fun. It's also, I think, big for work ethic too. I think from a young age, in order for you to excel, especially in today's age, there's so many talented athletes across all sports. I think the earlier that you get into it, the better. And I think you find out pretty quickly that you need to work really hard, have a great work ethic, and have a really good mindset in order to stick with it, continue to improve, and eventually, get to the next level, whatever that may be, whether it's a travel team early on, middle school team, high school team, college ball, and so on. So, I think it's great to start young for sure.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think with athletics, it's there's sort of a formula of like, you're blessed with some talent, you're blessed with some work ethic, right? And then you put all the energy into it, and it's like, I see some kids that have the goal of, they just want to be on the field. I have some kids that want to win. I have some kids that want to get to the next level, but I think there's so many things you get from sports. And I'm really glad you mentioned that ethic piece, because I think that ethic piece translates to other things off the field. Do you recognize
100%. 100%. I mean, it's interesting too, as a student athlete in college, I think you really get to experience that because you're playing a sport in college and you have to be great in the classroom as well. And so that's something I work on a lot with my mentorship programs, where I'm able to coach a lot of young athletes, specifically baseball players, and just say, hey, you got to be good on the field, but you got to be good in the classroom too. You got to understand what what it takes to, to get an A or a B in the class, be super professional and get your work done, So it's definitely translated, I think, to a lot of different areas in my life personally, just starting with athletics from a pretty young age. And it definitely can, I think, relate to a lot of areas, like you said, in life.
Awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask, because in this year, one of my new adventures is I'm consulting in a private school, Avon Old Farms in our area, and actually it was George Springer School back in the day, in high school, and we were chatting about him. And so often I meet kids that are going to these schools in high school, and they're very talented kids. They're clearly going to go play college baseball. I guess I'm curious because you've done it. Any thoughts, any suggestions for those kids?
Oh man,
I
I could
know.
go on.
Big
I could
question,
go
right?
on.
Yeah.
I could go on for days on this. I think that the work ethic piece, kind of like we've already touched on, is number one. When you're in high school, one of the best things you can do to prepare for college athletics is creating a really, really strong work ethic. Paired with that is also an unbreakable mindset. That's what I like to call it. So, this unwavering belief in yourself as a player and student athlete, and not letting comparisons of other players or what coaches or other players or scouts think of you creep into any of that and break that down. So, the two pinnacles for me are definitely like that mindset and the work ethic piece. And so I think when athletes can start there and really work on that in high school when they get to college, things are a lot easier. As easy as they can be, right? When you come in as a freshman, it's kind of that whirlwind year and you're figuring stuff out. But in the midst of getting your bearings, I think if you have a little bit of that foundation built, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think that's I asked you a tough question. You gave a great answer.
Thank you.
That is a tough thing to consider. I think that I was just thinking, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm a huge fan of baseball. And, baseball in particular is a sport where, the greatest player ever, had a batting average of 400, right? And so that is less than the majority. So in many cases, you have to learn how to fail. You have to learn how, right? And how to come back from that, right?
Totally. I think if I could just jump in, I think
Yeah,
that's an awesome little mini segue because I wanted to touch on that in our time today. I think that's a huge piece. Any baseball player out there, like if you're young and you're listening to this, it's a game of failure. At the college level, like I've had success. Some of my teammates have had success and we're still failing, 60, 70% of the time, which is crazy. You do that in a class, you fail, right?
right.
Anywhere else in life, it's unheard of. And so you got to just keep going and stick with it and continue to just improve and grow and understand that failure is a part of the process. Everyone goes through it. And the more you can kind of embrace that, the better off you're going to be for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you compared it to the classroom because even this past week, I found myself talking to my freshman students that have gone off to college. And, some of them are like, I just want to get A's. And I'm like, I get it. I know you want to do well, but realize that, at this age, you are going to fail in order to grow. Like that's part of the process. And really, if you think about it, like going way back to tying your shoes or anything else we did when we were little, you always fail at first, right? And in order to grow. And, but some kids will kind of eliminate that. And they're like, I want to start off perfect, right? And then they have to deal with, the difficulty that comes along with not starting that way. So I really appreciate that. I think in many ways, one of the reasons why I love athletics is athletics really does parallel life, right? Work like for young people, certainly, schoolwork in the classroom and then eventually, an occupation. That's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm guessing too, Tyler, two big topics, but time management and self-care must go into like being a college athlete and being a young person to balance that. Cause the amount of hours that you spend with workouts and practices and games in some ways is more than the academics, right? How do you balance that in terms of time?
Oh, it's a great question. It's kind of ironic too, because I don't know if you know my whole background, but that's probably the number one question I get asked the most in interviews and
Really?
podcasts and from whoever. So growing up, I was kind of born into like an entrepreneurial mindset. I had a ton of different passions that I really wanted to pursue at a young age. And so it took a lot of time management. Obviously in college, just being a student athlete takes a lot to begin with. And so when I grew up in Los Angeles, I started acting professionally when I was 2 years old, and I did that all the way to the end of high school, super, super intensely on the side. I also studied classical piano music production, the recording artist life, if you will. Did a lot of competitions with the classical piano stuff all the way to the end of high school. On top of that, you obviously have the baseball and really a really rigorous school program too in Harvard Westlake, which was the school that I went to. That's really tough for people that know that school, and so it's a lot for sure to manage. And so I say that to kind of preface like how I manage my time. It's all about preparation. It's all about the night before, the week before, the month before. The more you can prepare and block out your days of, hey, I got a test on this day. That means I got to study a few days before, maybe a week before, and make sure I have this assignment done. The more you can get ahead with your communication with your professors, your teachers, directors, whatever it is, to be like, hey, this is my schedule. It's kind of crazy, but I want to stay ahead of the curve. Here's what I got. I wanted to make sure you're aware of this before we dive in this week so we can all be on the same page. So little things like that go a very, very long way in terms of professionalism, in terms of stress levels, especially with mental health in general. Like instead of figuring out your days on the fly where you don't know what you're doing, that can cause a lot of stress, right? So in order to combat that, prepare an extra night before, on Sunday, before your week starts. Plan out your week, whether it's, with a pen and paper or whether it's an online calendar. I prefer the online version. Plan out your week. What do you have scheduled? And that way, as you go about your days, everything's already done for you. You can go throughout your days with less stress and really know, okay, I know this comes next. I know when I'm eating. I know when I'm waking up. I know when I have my free time. I know when I'm going to hang out with my friends. I know when I'm going to do my assignments. So just in general, I think to tie it all back together, the biggest takeaway is preparation is everything. Plan ahead as much as you can, and it'll give you less stress on the back end.
I love it. And I want to highlight for my young people listening, listen to Tyler. He knows what he's talking about. The simplicity of organization reduces anxiety, having a plan. So many of my students go into the week with no plan. And, they'll walk out of a class midday on a Monday with no, the sense of what they should be doing, so they'll take a nap, they'll go smoke some pot, they'll go, work out, goof off. Like they don't really have a plan. And so, for them, because there's no plan at 12 noon, if they goof around for a few hours, it doesn't seem like a big deal until later when your buddies say, hey, do you want to watch Monday Night Football? And you can't because you got to go do work, So I love what you're saying. And I think that, if there's any one thing I'd love young people to really hear loud and clear, it is plan the night before, have a plan for that next day, and get a good sense. I even heard you say plan for some free time. Fine. If you got 3 hours in the afternoon and you don't have anything planned, that's fine. Just like have that sense of I've got some free time. I can go hang out. I can do this. I can do that, so I love that. I think there's a distinct connection between good time management and less anxiety. And I think, what you said was really wise. As an athlete, there's so many kids now progressing into college athletics. As an athlete, you kind of have no choice. You either get really organized or you're going to get super overwhelmed, right? And then, of course,
100%.
your productivity will go down. So we don't want that to happen. Great suggestion. So mixed into that, I'm curious, self-care. Self-care is a phrase that's thrown around a lot. And, I have my own definition of what I think of when I hear that, but I'm curious, when you hear the term self-care, what does that mean to you?
Great question. I think it's putting yourself first. I think that's a great way to put it for me personally. It's making sure that you're okay before you give to others, before you interact with others, before you engage with others. It's making sure that you're good. And so for me, kind of piggyback off of that, self-care is huge for me. Meditation, mindfulness, visualization, journaling, all of that stuff has been really, really big from a young age. My parents kind of taught me that when I was pretty young, which I'm very grateful for because I've made that a staple of my life, and it's really helped me stay calm, I think, and manage my time in a sense, be able to give back to other people, but really more important than anything, just keep my mental health steady and keep it healthy. I think that there are so many tools out there that you can use to make sure that you're doing okay. Like whether it's literally buying a journal, writing in it for a couple minutes a day at the end of the day or something like that, or in the morning, maybe writing some gratitudes down or doing a meditation or taking a walk and just like observing things around you, like as simple as that. A few deep breaths. There's so many different things that you can do that doesn't take a lot of time, truly, every single day, just building that habit out to where you're constantly, framing your mindset in a way that's more positive than negative, and constantly just making sure that you're good. That's the key. I think if you check in with yourself at least once a day and do something quick like that, I think it'll go a long way.
I think those are all awesome suggestions. And one thing that I pull out from what you said is you sort of have to actively do something. It's not going to just happen. So, taking a few deep breaths before you go to bed, it'll help a bit. But if you set aside a little bit of time, and as you said, it doesn't even have to be a lot. Nowadays, everybody's carrying one of these. Lots of people have earbuds. Sit down for 5 minutes and listen to a meditation. If you've never meditated before, listen to one. Some great apps out there. I don't know if you've heard of Calm or Headspace or any of the ones. A lot of the young people that I talk to, they use those. And I think the journaling concepts is awesome. Really, really amazing. This is great because I think it ties into something I wanted to ask you about. And that is, in my career, I've been doing this now for 25 years and I've seen trends. Unfortunately, some of the ones I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years have been trending in all the wrong directions. Anxiety is way up, depression way up in young people. And, the suicide rate is also way up, and these days it's reported around, I think it's the second leading cause of death in young people. And it's a scary word no one ever likes to talk about until there's a tragedy, and then you can't help but talk about it, right? And I think that most people I've talked to your age, they've been around it. They've known people that have either taken their own lives or tried to, and it's just a reality of our world now. And that I look at sort of the severe side of mental health as it involves that. And I guess I'm curious in general, Tyler. I mean, this is your age bracket we're talking about. And I guess I'm wondering, when you hear anxiety and depression are way up, why do you think that is?
Oof, man, putting me on the spot here.
It's a big one, I know, right? There's a lot of reasons, but I'm just curious your thoughts. Yeah.
It's a good question. Honestly, I think a lot of it is social media. My brain goes to that first. I think a lot of people are spending time on screens more than ever, unfortunately, and not necessarily outside or taking care of their mental health. If you're watching things that are entertaining, that are maybe dark, that are more negative, even if it's slightly negative, you're constantly reprogramming your brain, your subconscious mind to attract that. And unfortunately, that leads to more negative thoughts. It leads to more negativity overall, and that's not good for anyone. And so, unfortunately, I think social media, as great as it is in a lot of ways to stay connected and to stay entertained and to have another method of communication, if you will, on there, I think that's great. There are definitely some scary sides of it, and I think the more people can be a little bit more aware of how much time they're spending, maybe setting a reminder. I know Instagram just put in over the past couple of years, basically a reminder function where you can, set a reminder 10 minutes after you use an app, like 10 minutes straight. They can pop up and say, hey, you've been using the app for a little bit, maybe time to get off or something like that. So I think utilizing tools like that will be really powerful to maybe help combat something like that. And I think that's where I'll leave it for now. I think that we don't need to get any more in depth into it. It's just, people just be a little more aware of your social media time.
That's a big one. I mean, I think social media, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's positives and negatives, right? And, I think that I'm fascinated by the whole algorithm thing, and that, you go and you look at one of these, videos, it's a little dark, and you don't even have to work to find more dark videos. They just get sent to you, and so without even really a whole lot of thought, you're kind of pushed in one direction or the other. One of the concepts I talk about a lot, and it certainly has some athletic backdrop to it, is, the defensive side, someone kind of just defending their day, meaning, no plan. They hop into, TikTok scrolling and YouTube scrolling, and they just sort of, their day goes, like they don't get their work done. They're not really on top of their mental health, versus being offensive minded, having a plan and really saying, I'm going to take control of my day. I'm going to get good rest. I'm going to do one thing different this week than I did last, so that this week I'm feeling a little more human, a little bit more in control, even if it's just drinking more water, like just making that one decision to say, okay, offensively, I'm going to grab the bull by the horns and do this. Because guess what? If you don't, No one else is. As you get a little bit older, you start to realize like Tyler's the one making decisions for Tyler. And so is Mark's making his own decisions. Right. And so you sort of have to kind of take that and realize like, okay, it's up to me, as an adult in this world. But
100%. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, social media is a tough one, and it's there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of real negative things on there. One of the biggest reasons, Tyler, I created Normalize It Forward is I really felt like because of the statistics and the way mental health is for young people in particular, it really helps to get open conversation and dialogue like this. So I appreciate, number one, you taking the time to sit with me today and have this talk. You've made some great suggestions and given hopefully our listeners some really good ideas of things you've used or other people that you've known have used, and just really good thoughts in terms of easy things to consider. Those that haven't considered, journaling, pick up a journal, and just give it a shot. Start writing some of your thoughts out and see if that helps. And guess what? If it doesn't, try something else, but there's a lot of options and opportunities out there for us. And at the end of the day, our mental health, it's ours. You know what I mean? Like it's ours to kind of maintain and have some conversation about. So I like to try to encourage young people beyond listening to a podcast like this, talk to your friend, find out what they're doing and find out what seems to help them and what seems to work. Because I think the more we can talk openly about these things, the more we can be successful. So again, I so appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, Tyler, so I appreciate you doing that. Can I ask one other favor of you? I'm going to put you on the spot with this one.
Sure. Go for it.
So Normalize It Forward, the whole concept of it is that I want the conversation to continue. And so I usually ask toward the end of our interviews, if you have someone you want to nominate, a friend, a coworker, a relative, someone in your world who you think could be helpful for me to interview next, to have more of a conversation about mental health. What do you think? Any thoughts? Anyone in mind?
Totally. I have a bunch of baseball teammates that I can definitely reach out to for sure and get you guys in contact.
Awesome. I would love to do that. We'll get that offline. I look forward to connecting with them, Tyler. And again, just so appreciate you taking the time today. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Great talking to you. Have a great day. Take care.
That's all for this episode of Normalize It Forward. May this conversation serve as a reminder that you are never alone in facing your mental health struggles. There are always people who can help. To dive even deeper into our journey of normalizing one of the biggest issues young people face, check out more episodes of the show at youareheard.com. It's UAREHEARD.com. Continue gaining access to the right tools, the best resources, and the most insightful advice to achieve positivity, mindfulness, and genuine happiness.